So howdy folks, my name is Richie, aka Bog Otter, and I'm here with Colin Johanson here at the ArenaNet offices. We've got hands-on demos of Heart of Thorns expansion for the first time today, and it's been super fun, but I'm here to ask Colin some questions. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing I wanted to kind of address is, or talk about is early on when the game was fresh and new, whenever expansion was brought up, it was always, the response was always, we're not sure if we're going to do traditional expansions or not. At what point did you decide to kind of do Heart of Thorns, and what were some of the ideas you were tossing around?
Well, you know, we always, not long after the game released, we had a small team that was prototyping technologies for what we would think would be future expansions if we wanted to go down that path. But we also really wanted to experiment and learn what we could do to try to change the way that live games develop. You know, we try to take the same thought process to how we built Guild Wars 2 and apply it to the live development process and say, what could we do that's different? What could we do that challenges the way people traditionally view live games? And that's where a lot of the concepts that we tried were born out of. And I think we did a lot of different things. We tried some stuff, we learned, we adjusted, we tried different things over the course of 2 Living World seasons, and feature packs and combo updates with Living World and features all together and then separating them. Somewhere along the road, I think it became clear that that strategy alone was not enough, that our fans clearly were looking for a big moment, and that feature packs weren't enough to be that a compilation of Living Worlds episodes weren't enough to be that they wanted this big moment that resonated, and, you know, obviously expansions are the go-to for that. It's certainly something where, you know, we always try to listen to what our fans say, most importantly, and make our decisions based on that. And I think a lot of lapsed players who hadn't checked back into Guild Wars 2, I think that was a big part of it too, is things like a feature pack or Living World. They were great for our user base. They did a lot of the things we were hoping they would do. They did a really good job of allowing our live game to develop, to set up a storyline that we could continue forward. Yeah. But they didn't have broad reach to get out to a really broad audience and say,
bring a lot of people back.
Yeah, check back in, right? And so, you know, I guess we've really heavily been working on this expansion, you know, for around a year or so. But before that, it became clear that it was, you know, this is where we need to go. And we've just been building up to the point that we had it far enough along in development. We were ready to get out and talk about it. But yeah, I think where we're at now is we feel like live development and expansions together are a perfect complement to one another. The Living World has set up the story of the expansion. The story of the expansion can set back up where we want to go with live in the future, and they can go back and forth. And hopefully that's ideal for our customers and lapsed or current players.
Awesome. So some of the stories that you guys are telling have been in the works for years, right? The big Solari working for Mordred Moth reveal has been something that has been planned since before launch, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to put myself in your shoes a little bit. When those moments are finally revealed to the players, what does that feel like? And like, how do you guys witness it on patch day? Like, what do you guys watch? How do you, like, you know, I don't know, I can imagine it being exciting here.
Yeah.
So what is it like, and do you have any interesting stories about, you know, those kind of reveals?
Well, I guess it's been over 7 years now since we first conceptualized the Sylvari and that they were dragon minions and that entire story. You know, Rhys Osby was instrumental in really kind of carving out that storyline of who the Sylvari were, how they were going to fit into our world. The ending to Eye of the North and the way that we just teased just a little bit what that was. Yeah. And then, you know, literally 7 years later, actually got a chance to pay that off finally. That's a long time to wait, but it was really cool. It was building up to that moment. You know, we talked a lot about it, a lot of different moments over the course of planning Living World of where that moment would drop, and it actually moved a couple times until we settled on a spot that we were really happy with, which was transitioning into where this expansion picked up. You know, we do launch day basically parties. There's no better way to describe it, where everyone in the company on one of those big release days is told, it's a release day, have fun, play the game. Just come in, go on live and play. If you're in a meeting, decline it and tell people you're not coming. If people try to schedule anything important, reply and say it's game day. So as much as we can, we try to really just celebrate and get in the game and play it with all the other players. Yeah. Some people love to put their ArenaNet tag on, and so you'll always see more ArenaNet tags on launch day. Yeah. A lot of us prefer to kind of go a little more incognito and just go in and play and see what people are saying and experiencing with them. I think there's no better way to really understand how to develop for your players than to just be in there as a player yourself. Yeah. And launch day is the best day to do that. The excitement is palpable, if you will, for everybody running around and going bananas, and yeah, it's really cool. I don't know. Favorite experience? Maybe Destruction of Lion's Arch when that Escape from LA release. I think that coming to work that day, I don't think I slept very much the night before, like maybe an hour or two, just because I just didn't know exactly how the community would respond to something like that. We pitched it because we wanted to punch everybody in the gut and really, say. One of the comments was, hey, how big can this be? What can Living World do? Will stories be meaningful enough? And we had this big moment planned out, and it was really a big build up to get to that time. And that was a big thing for us. It was a lot of work went into Lion's Arch. Poor Josh Foreman spent a lot of art time making the original Lion's Arch what it was. I think everybody was super excited about that day and how it played out and the way that release was accepted. And at the same time, there was this weird sort of sense of loss throughout the studio over the same feeling. Really, I can't describe it. Just a really different atmosphere all day long. I'm really happy it went as well as it did.
I still have footage recorded of the original Lion's Arch. I'm like, I can never delete this.
We need to find a way to get some of that back in the game somehow so people can see that stuff.
I've seen a couple of compilation videos go out of this is what it looked like for anybody who just started now, so that's really cool. So how do you determine at this point what is going to go in to what's expansion type content versus what is Living World type content?
I actually can't answer that question today. We're really focused right now on Heart of Thorns and making that everything it can be as an expansion. And I think as we finish building it, we will really have a better understanding of what the difference between the two is. I think the most important thing for us is that the story of the world needs to feel like it's progressively moving forward. That is what the concept of a living world is that the world changes and evolves and the story continues to go forward. And whatever form that takes, we really haven't decided yet. We'll come back and talk about that after the expansion ships. But in some form or another, the story of the world will continue to move forward. And certainly there are things that we will have as features that will go live without expansions and things that will go with. I really can't say today exactly how we'll split that up.
And if there's players that are playing and don't buy the expansion, will they still be able to do things in the living world?
They will not, no. If you, basically everything that comes after the expansion, you will need to own the expansion to be able to access, basically. Pretty much all the live updates from that point forward will be expansion specific. And the core world will be what it is today. We feel like value-wise, the amount of content that you get for buying the game and eventually for buying the expansion is more than enough to say that's fair in a world of many live content updates and no monthly fees. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Okay. Quick question on what's kind of going on right now. We have we had the Lunar New Year Festival, and in it brought Dragon Ball Arena. The activities like that in Sanctum Sprint, not being able to join that as a party, is that a technical limitation or a design decision?
It is a technical limitation, and one I hope eventually we can overcome. It's just not something that is a super high priority right now.
Sure.
There's a little bit of the chicken and the egg. If you look at the number of people who play activities, it's not that important for us to spend development time on them. You can make the argument, hey, if you made them more approachable, more people would play them. But I think our time is better spent on other stuff currently, and at some point that will continue to rise up and maybe be tops on the list of stuff for us to deal with. But it just hasn't been important enough yet versus all the other things we'd like to do with the game.
That's understandable. Are there plans to put in build templates, especially with the new PvP Stronghold coming out, and players might want to have a different spec versus Conquest versus the Stronghold, being able to swap that? Or do you have to just have a build that's generally good for either and then see what you get?
Well, I will say templates was an awesome system in Guild Wars 1. It added a lot to the game, added a lot of diversity, and did a lot of good things for us. And so I can certainly see where they will play a role in Guild Wars 2. It is not something that we are currently focused on. We're currently focused on Heart of Thorns and the features we've talked about for it. But templates, obviously you talked about one of the reasons why it would be great to have. And it's something we're well aware of for sure. But expansion first.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much, Colin.
Absolutely.